Geopolitics at the moment at the G7 summit, but there are other conflicts ongoing as well. Joining us now is Glenn Grant, a former advisor to the Ukraine Defence Minister, who is joining us from Riga to discuss the Russia-Ukraine war, which probably would have been more in the spotlight and taken up more discussion at this initial meeting of the G7 leaders had it not been for the tensions escalating in the Middle East. But Glenn, we know Volodymyr Zelensky is going to be present at the G7 summit further into it. How important is support for Ukraine and potential pressure on Russia from the G7 leaders at this point in time, given that peace between the two countries seems no closer than it did before the announcement of those direct talks in Istanbul?
I think the first thing is, you can go back on what I've said many, many times. I mean, there was never peace on its way in Istanbul, and there is no peace on its way at the moment between Russia and Ukraine, because Russia is still pushing forward. I mean, Zelensky's got an opportunity to talk to people again, and he needs that opportunity to keep updating people. Perhaps most importantly is to make sure that everybody, and especially Trump, understands the linkage between Iran and Russia, and that they are both on the same side, and that they've both got the same, basically the same aims of trashing the West. I think it's a bit unfortunate in many ways that America has leapt immediately with everything towards the defense of Israel, rather than actually taking a slightly more balanced view and understanding that, if they're not careful, they will unbalance the Russia war, and that will cause more problems in the long term. So Zelensky's got this task of trying to actually to ensure that balance is not lost. I think that he will get quite a bit of support from the majority of the G7. He's going to have a more difficult time with Trump, if indeed he manages to get anything out of him at all.
Yes, and Glenn, we know that Russia and Iran have an alliance and allegiance to each other. Do you think that could play into the hands of Volodymyr Zelensky, given the widespread call for de-escalation, but ultimate support in Israel's aim at stopping Iran having a nuclear weapon? Can that link and that relationship between Russia and Iran play a part in any support directly through the countries who are aligned with Israel as well?
Well, I think yes and no. I mean, I think most of the G7, if not all the G7 leaders, will understand that link. And the more recent signing of an agreement between Russia and Iran, which just shows clearly, that we're up against both of them in terms of the ongoing war. But I think what's got to come out of this is balance and a balance of the resources. It's fine if all the leaders agree that we support Israel first. And some of them are doing behind the scenes. If they support Israel first and try and actually, clear things down with Iran and take Iran out of the picture, that would actually damage Russia considerably, because they've been, taking as much support as they can from Iran and obviously North Korea, and that would take one aspect out of the ongoing Russian war, but I'm not convinced that priorities and that organization and that logical thinking between all the G7 is there yet. Maybe it will come out after the next couple of days. Let's see. And one point on there, your previous speaker said about the communique coming out from Canada, but I heard that Canada was not going to issue a G7 communique after this round.
Glenn, I want to move now to the sort of allies in which Ukraine have had vocal support from. The coalition of the willing, led by Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron. They are both present. Friedrich Merz has been outspoken about support for Ukraine and pressure. Mark Carney hosting this meeting a member of the coalition of the willing as well. Can there be conversations that are had on the sidelines discussing support for Ukraine that will have a benefit, and potential discussions that could look at pressure through the form of sanctions?
Oh, that's a good question, because I mean, basically, the European countries in the G7 have already, put their sanctions package together collectively. I don't see that will change, because they want to do that through the EU. So the big question is Trump now going to actually to put sanctions on Russia? To be honest, I don't think he will. I mean, he's delaying his punishing Trump 2 weeks on, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks on. I think we're on the fifth 2 weeks now. So I don't see he's going to do anything there. If they do, it'll be weak and it won't hurt Russia because he's supporting Russia. I don't think the others have got the strength to actually to persuade Trump to go down a different line from supporting Russia. So and in general, other support, I mean the military support, the European countries are maxed out. I mean they can't actually provide any more because there isn't any more to be able to provide easily at the moment. I mean maybe some more armored vehicles, maybe some more tanks, but you've seen the problem even with Leopard is that Germany's taken Leopard from Switzerland and Switzerland won't let them be sold on to Ukraine. So we've still got problem countries who are still not supporting the Ukraine war, even in and around the European area.
Yes, I'm going to come back to you, Adrian, to look at Trump's role within this ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. Of course, he has spoken with Vladimir Putin. Steve Witkoff has had 4 conversations directly with the Russian leader. Trump at points seems to have tried to have both sides with support. But do you think that this summit can push him in one direction towards further support for Ukraine, given the fact that so many of the vocal voices of alliance with Ukraine will be present and have the opportunity to speak to Trump one-to-one, face-to-face, and with no Russian representative present?
That's a very good question, but I just don't see it happening. Trump seems pretty set on this, and as Glenn was saying, there is a real problem with our foreign policy and the compartmentalization of looking at these issues. You got to tie Tehran to Moscow to Beijing. They all operate together, and it would appear that Trump has a belief that he can kind of, as I said in I think a previous segment, do a reverse Kissinger and peel Russia away from China. And I just don't see that as a reality. Putin wants war. That's what he wants. He doesn't want peace. I've been very disappointed with the approach. Now Putin certainly is it's going to hurt him on the battlefield now. He's going to have he ran into a firepower problem, and now it's going to become more acute because he lost the Islamic Republic. So where's he going to get those ballistic missiles from to continue, and the drones, and who helped him with all that? It was the Islamic Republic of Iran. So they're weak, and we've acted all along as though Putin was playing with a really strong hand when he had both a manpower and a firepower problem, and he had an issue with his economy. So we've taken an unfortunate path, I would say, along that conflict. Yeah.
Briefly moving away from war, I do have a quick update to bring. We have received through the news wires that Trump is set to sign a proclamation formalising this US-UK trade deal in the coming days. And the trading framework was agreed, of course, in early May. And earlier this month, Keir Starmer said that it would be tied up and hopefully come into effect in the coming weeks. Trade, of course, is set to be a key point of discussion, and we expect that to be had in the midst of these Trump tariffs. Of course, the deadline that Trump set for that 10% pause of 3 months is coming to an end on the 8th of July, and countries, including many of those at the G7, are still having conversations with the US administration. We know Shigeru Ishiba, the leader of Japan, is set to discuss trade in the face of automotive tariffs, but also those reciprocal tariffs that will come to an end at being 10% very shortly. South Korea involved in discussions as well, Canada and Mexico. Of course, Mark Carney hosting this summit, but Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum also to attend as a guest. We've heard a trilateral discussion between those North American nations will take place, and we will bring all of those updates. I just want to thank both Adrian and Glenn for discussing these updates and the impact that the G7 conference may have on them. But I do now bring you some breaking news that is coming out of Africa. And heavy weekend rains have unleashed devastating flooding and landslides in Kinshasa, claiming at least 29 lives. That in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Kinshasa, a region that has been facing difficulty with the M23 rebel movement moving through the east of the DRC, causing instability, causing a humanitarian issue and displacement as well. Local media are reporting now that this heavy rainfall leading to landslides has claimed 29 lives. That from the DRC Congo Ministry. This incident is highlighting Kinshasa's ongoing challenges with seasonal flooding in the face of conflict. Each year the city of 15 million people experiences similar issues, influenced by urban development, deforestation, limited draining infrastructure. Experts note that climate change may contribute to more frequent and intense weather events, and the environment is something that may not be discussed much, but is something we expect to be brought up over the next period of time at the G7 summit. We will bring you more updates from that summit in Alberta, Canada, as we get it, and we will continue to bring you more updates on the ongoing Israel-Iran tensions. We'll be back very soon.